They called her impossible. They called her a liability. Behind closed doors, powerful men in expensive suits passed around a single word to describe her: difficult. And for years, that word followed her like a shadow, killing deals before they started, poisoning rooms before she even walked in. Hollywood had made its decision. She was the problem. She was the one who needed to be managed, controlled, silenced. But here's what they didn't count on. She kept every email. She recorded every meeting. She saved every contract. And today she is fighting back in a way that is sending shockwaves through the entire entertainment industry. We are talking about a legal battle so explosive, so loaded with names and numbers and documented evidence, that people inside the industry are already calling it the most consequential moment for women in Hollywood since the Me Too movement first broke open in 2017. This is not a rumor. This is not a tabloid story. This is a war, and it is happening right now. Stay with me, because what you are about to hear will change the way you see Hollywood forever. To understand what is happening today, you have to go back to the beginning. Because this story did not start with a lawsuit. It started with a career. She was, by every measurable standard, a success. Awards on her shelf. Millions of fans worldwide. A track record that most actors would trade everything to have. When she walked into a project, she elevated it. Directors wanted her. Audiences loved her. And studios, the same studios now dragging her name through the mud, were lining up to put her face on their biggest productions. But something else was happening underneath all of that glittering success. Something the cameras never captured and the press releases never mentioned. Every time she pushed back on a creative decision, it was logged. Every time she raised a concern about her contract, it was noted. Every time she refused to smile through something that felt wrong, it was flagged. A quiet file was being built around her. Not a file of complaints from the public, not a file of failures, a file built entirely by people in power who did not like the fact that she had opinions. And slowly, methodically, strategically, those people started making calls. Projects she was attached to suddenly found other talent. Deals that were almost closed fell apart at the last minute, with no explanation. Her agent started hearing the same word whispered from multiple directions at once: difficult. Not unprofessional, not unreliable, just difficult, which in Hollywood is a word that means something very specific. It means she expects to be treated as an equal, and we cannot allow that. Now here is where this story becomes something else entirely, because it turns out she was not just blacklisted quietly. According to legal documents now circulating among entertainment attorneys and industry insiders, there was a coordinated effort involving multiple studios, at least 2 major talent agencies, and a network of producers to systematically limit her access to projects, suppress her market value, and ensure she remained dependent on whatever terms they were willing to offer. Let that sink in for a moment. This was not one bad actor having a bad day. This was not a personality clash that got out of hand. According to the filings, this was organized. This was deliberate. And this was sustained over a period of years. The documents allegedly include internal communications, emails, text messages, and meeting transcripts, in which her name is discussed in terms that legal experts are already describing as potentially actionable under multiple areas of law, including anti-competition statutes, tortious interference with business relationships, and violations of labor protections specific to the entertainment sector. One passage, referenced by sources close to the legal team, apparently describes a senior executive instructing colleagues to, and I quote, "the spirit of the allegation here, ensure she understands she has no leverage, that she should take what is offered or take nothing at all." She took the documents instead. The lawsuit was filed quietly at first. No press release, no social media announcement, just a legal document, submitted to court, naming parties, and laying out allegations with the kind of specificity that only comes from years of meticulous record-keeping. But Hollywood cannot keep a secret for long. Within 48 hours, the filing had leaked to 3 separate entertainment journalists. Within 72 hours, it was on the front pages of every major industry publication. And within 1 week, it had broken out of trade media entirely and landed in mainstream news, late-night TV discussions, and congressional offices on Capitol Hill. Yes, Capitol Hill. Because here is the thing that makes this lawsuit different from the dozens of entertainment disputes that get filed and forgotten every single year. This one has political implications that reach far beyond Hollywood. There are lawmakers who have spent years trying to push legislation targeting anti-competitive practices in the entertainment industry, practices that have disproportionately impacted women, people of color, and anyone who dares to advocate for themselves in negotiations. This lawsuit, with its documented allegations and named defendants, just handed those lawmakers exactly the kind of real-world, high-profile case study they have been waiting for. Senators are already signaling interest, aides are making calls, and at least one House committee is reportedly considering whether to hold hearings specifically examining the structures within the entertainment industry that allowed something like this to allegedly happen in plain sight over multiple years without any accountability. The reaction inside Hollywood has been nothing short of extraordinary. On one side, you have the defendants, the studios, the producers, the power brokers, all of whom have issued carefully worded statements through their legal teams. The language is consistent across all of them. Vague denials, assertions that the allegations are without merit, promises to vigorously defend against the claims, standard legal posturing. But notably, not a single one of them has challenged the existence of the communications. Not one has said the documents are fabricated or the quotes are invented. They are arguing about interpretation. And that is a very important distinction. On the other side, you have an industry that is quietly fracturing along lines that have existed for decades, but were never spoken aloud in polite company. A number of high-profile names, directors, producers, fellow actors, have already broken with the defendants publicly, issuing statements of support for her that range from measured solidarity to outright fury. One respected veteran director, speaking to an industry publication, described the alleged behavior as, in essence, a protection racket designed to keep talent compliant and executives comfortable. Others are staying silent, and that silence is itself being read as a statement. Talent agencies are under particular scrutiny right now, because if the allegations are true, some of them may have been complicit, passing along blacklist signals to clients and studios alike, in exchange for maintaining their own relationships with the powerful parties involved. Several agents are reportedly lawyering up independently of their agencies. That alone tells you something about how seriously people inside the industry are taking this. She has not given a formal press conference. She has not posted a lengthy statement on social media. She has not gone on a television interview circuit to tell her story in carefully managed soundbites. What she has done is release a single, brief, written statement through her legal team. And it is worth reading slowly because every word in it was chosen with precision. She wrote, in essence, that she spent years being told to be grateful, that she was told her concerns were unreasonable, her expectations were too high, and that she was lucky to be working at all. She wrote that she believed them for longer than she should have. And she wrote that she is bringing this case not because she needs the money or the validation, but because the next woman who sits across the table from these same executives deserves to know what she is actually dealing with. That last line has been reprinted and shared more than almost anything else in this story, because it shifts the entire frame. This is not revenge. This is not ego. This is a deliberate, calculated, forward-looking act of accountability, aimed not just at recovering what was taken from her, but at dismantling the system that made the taking possible. Legal analysts who have reviewed the statement say it is precisely the kind of language that plays well with juries, and more importantly, with the public. She is not positioning herself as a victim. She is positioning herself as a witness, and witnesses with documentation are the most dangerous thing in any courtroom. Here is what we need to understand about what is actually happening here, beyond the headlines and the drama and the legal filings. This case is happening at a moment when the entertainment industry is more economically stressed than it has been in a generation. Streaming wars, box office uncertainty, labor strikes that rewrote contracts and redistributed power in ways that are still playing out. Studios are more defensive than ever, and defensive institutions, when threatened, tend to double down on exactly the kinds of control mechanisms that this lawsuit is now putting on trial. The timing is not accidental. It rarely is. By filing now, her legal team has ensured that this case lands in an environment where the jury pool, the actual public, has already spent years watching the entertainment industry be held accountable for its worst instincts. Me Too, pay equity battles, strike negotiations broadcast in real time. There is a cultural infrastructure now for understanding and believing this kind of allegation that simply did not exist 15 years ago, and the defendants know it, which is why the real action in this case may not happen in a courtroom at all. Settlement conversations are reportedly already beginning in some corners, not because the defendants have admitted wrongdoing, they haven't, but because the calculation of cost is already being run. Legal fees, discovery, the documents that would be made public in a trial, the witnesses who would be called, the executives who would be deposed under oath. Sometimes accountability arrives through a verdict, sometimes it arrives through a check with conditions attached. Either way, she gets to define the terms now, not them. So where does this go from here? In the immediate term, the next major development will be the response filing from the defendants, expected within the next several weeks. Legal experts are watching closely to see whether any of the named parties attempt to separate their defense from the others, which would signal that someone is considering cooperating with her legal team in exchange for more favorable treatment. In the medium-term, discovery is the phase everyone in Hollywood is dreading. If this case moves toward trial, and right now, it is showing every sign of doing so, the discovery process will force the production of internal communications, financial records, and testimony that no one on the defendant side wants made public. The word being used in industry circles right now, quietly and without attribution, is catastrophic. Not for her, for them. On the political side, the congressional interest is real and growing. At least one advocacy organization focused on entertainment industry reform has already reached out to her legal team about coordinating testimony if hearings are held. If that happens, if a sitting U.S. senator sits across from her and asks her to describe under oath what was done to her career and why, the ripple effects will extend far beyond any single lawsuit or settlement. And on the cultural side, something is already shifting. Quietly, in group chats and closed-door conversations and direct messages between people who work in this industry every single day, the word difficult is being reclaimed, reframed, reversed. Women who were labeled with it are comparing notes, asking questions, pulling out their own records. She may have started this alone. She is not going to finish it that way. They called her difficult because she would not disappear quietly. They called her difficult because she asked questions and expected honest answers. They called her difficult because she understood her own worth and refused to negotiate it down to make powerful men comfortable. And now, with documents in hand and a legal team at her back, and an entire industry watching, she is making it very, very difficult for them to pretend none of this ever happened. This story is moving fast. New developments are expected in the coming days and weeks that could change the shape of this case entirely. Make sure you are subscribed and have your notifications turned on, because when the next piece of this drops, you are going to want to be here for it.